Welcome to the Environmental Transformation Podcast, where we bring you interviews with industry leaders, climate champions, sustainability practitioners, EHS and hazmat professionals making an impact in their businesses today. Each leader solving complex challenges and delivering solutions within their areas of expertise. I'm your host, Sean Grady, and thanks for joining us today. Before we jump in, make sure to follow us on your devices and visit my website at www.seankgrady.com and sign up for our newsletter and email announcements. Now let's get started. Welcome to the Environmental Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Grady, and today's guest is Sean Easton. Sean is a graduate of UCLA, and he has held various sales roles and leadership roles in the waste industry since 1995. Prior to joining Wastelinq, Sean built a sales team and enabled Effective Environmental to nearly quadruple its revenue in just over 5 years. Sean is the co-founder and chief revenue officer of Wastelinq, and we're going to let Sean get involved, dive in and talk about Wastelinq and what it is. But for those who are not familiar, it is a waste tracking software SaaS platform, and we're glad to have Sean on the show to talk about the product. Sean, welcome.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Appreciate the intro. How are you?
I'm great. Well, first things first, I'm always glad to see a fellow Sean spell their name the right way.
Yep. I really had no choice in that. It was my mom's decision, but it is the right way. I agree.
Yeah, yes. I didn't either, but I'm a Sean Kelly Grady, and you're Sean. What's your middle name?
So I'm Edward is my middle name. Okay. My mother's maiden name was Kelly, and my son's name is Grady. So it's kind of
this is too good, buddy. Yeah. So it's a lot of synergy going on. Right. Irish roots here.
A little bit.
This is great. Well, so, for the listeners, if you could, Sean, let's talk a little bit about Wastelinq, what this product is, and how you got involved with Wastelinq.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it. So like you mentioned, we kind of got our start back in the days of Effective Environmental. We were a industrial and hazardous waste broker based in Texas. At our peak, we had 6 10-day transfer facilities serving thousands of generators across kind of the Gulf Coast region. And there really wasn't a technology platform to run a business on that you can buy off the shelf in our industry, right? I mean, maybe something to print manifests, labels, something like that, but really not an ERP or a platform to create, to manage everything you need to manage as a service provider in the industry. So we built our own. We worked on it constantly from 2003 to 2015, and then we eventually sold that business to Stericycle in April of 2015, and actually were able to keep the software as part of the transaction. So at the time, we weren't exactly sure what we wanted to do with it. Right. But shortly thereafter, we started getting phone calls from after the transaction had occurred, from former competitors, former employees that were now at new places looking for a platform to help them run their waste business. And that's kind of how we got started. Bunch of waste people that really had no software experience other than building our own. And then before you knew it, we were licensing software to people throughout the industry. So kind of an interesting start.
No, you're talking my language, a similar journey, Sean. I mean, I think I've shared this with you in the past too, before you came on, but we started a waste group at the former consulting place I was at, and we started growing, disposal management services and sustainability services. And we needed a software too, because spreadsheets wasn't cutting it. And, there really wasn't a great product out there that was, a good product. So we ended up, developing our own product too. And boy, that journey is a long haul and it's a challenging one. But, I'm glad to see you guys have monetized your product a bit so you can, get it out in the industry. And it's from what I've seen, it's just definitely one of the top ones out there.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it is a long journey. It's feels like it's never ending, right? And that's I think that's opportunity, but it's also a very difficult, business, I think, for there to be a platform that can be universally used throughout for both generators, service providers, and disposal facilities. So we do have target markets in each of those silos. We do work for really large generators where they're using the platform to help kind of centralize all of their waste activities through all the different waste vendors that they're using, have visibility into their inventory, their costs, It's a great platform for really large generators with multiple locations.
Mm-hmm.
Service providers use it the same way we did at Effective, right? They're running their business, managing customers' profiles, 10-day inventory, scheduling trucks, invoicing clients. And then along the way, we purchased a couple applications, one called Terralink and one called EnviroWare, both applications that have 20 plus year histories in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And the EnviroWare platform has become the waste processing module that's connected to Wastelinq for our disposal facility clients. So we try to do a good job of providing an offering that's tailored towards each of the different silos of the industry, the generators, service providers, TSDFs, and then, along the way, trying to make sure that we are really driven by three core principles of the company. It's being connected, simple, and transparent. Three things that really the industry hasn't been. It's been kind of behind the times in terms of technology. There's really no standardization of the way different disposal facilities receive and process different waste through their vendor codes. So, it's been a fun journey. We continue to learn as we go, and just trying to get better every day.
So let's dive in a little deep here. I mean, let's get in the weeds a bit. So, cause this is exciting in a way, cause I played in this realm quite a bit. Well, let's talk about profiling. Profiling is a challenge for a lot of companies and a lot of staff just to do that properly. How is your product helping, the users profile waste accurately, maybe more expeditiously, and maybe in a way that would be accepted by, a disposal company through your platform?
Yeah, no, the profile is the probably maybe the single biggest pain point in the industry, simply because there is no standardization of the document, right? Every disposal facility has their own version of the form,
Mm-hmm.
right? Generators often need help with characterizing the waste, especially if they're smaller generators and they go to service providers and disposal facilities to do that. But we've actually just on October 7th, we will be deploying a new AI-enabled profile feature that's part of this overarching vision of ours called Wastelinq One Profile, right?
Okay.
So you have Profile Assist, which through the answering of 4 questions, that process is looking at a neural net of about 40,000 approved and vetted waste profiles, where the Wastelinq software can complete a profile based on waste stream name, description of the waste, process generating the waste, and your chem comp. And what that AI does is it completes the profile based on its view of all that data in that neural net of the profiles.
Mm-hmm.
And then the user goes in and edits the questions that they need to edit. It cuts about the time to complete a profile at least in half.
Okay.
I was messing with the tool today. It's in the test environment. We're going through it. We're deploying it to customers on October 7th. So it cut the time at least in half to get it completed. Once it's completed, then it's going to recommend different types of treatment methods based on that same database of profiles. And it says 75% of the time this material goes for fuel blending, and 30 or 20% of the time it goes for incineration, right? And so then you can pick your treatment method as part of a routing process. Once you pick your treatment method, almost like in a Progressive Insurance type display, it routes
the options,
gives you
right?
options to where you want to route that waste, and it displays your cost to those facilities, shows you, how far they are from your customer or how far the disposal facility is from you if you're the generator.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 features as part of that one profile will be live and available to our customers on October 7th.
Ooh, man, that's exciting, Sean. That is super exciting. We dreamt of a similar process called Profile Plus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, similar, but this is great. I mean, because, if you're in the weeds and you're doing this every day, what the pain points are. And as waste experts, we're kind of like dialed into the challenges and the pain points associated with getting profiles approved and making accurate determinations, making sure data is good. So, as part of this profile program you have, is there the opportunity to upload EDD environmental data from laboratories to bring it in, to actually insert those concentrations into the profile?
Yeah, today it's uploading PDFs, documents of laboratory information like analysis. It'll upload SDSs. There's nothing that's going to pull the analysis today.
Okay.
It'll say, chromium's at 7.3 parts per million, and drop that into the chem comp. Those are improvements and things that we can add as we go. Our real focus as a next step and that final step in that one profile process is once the profile is completed, once you've chosen the disposal facility that you want to send it to, use either API connectivity with those TSDFs that have online portals, or use AI to complete the submission of that profile automatically. Today, there's a duplicate step, right? You create the profile in your operating system, you create the profile again on the
third-party system, right?
At least once, sometimes twice, because you need a backup.
Right.
This would allow the user to create one profile and get approvals from multiple TSDFs with essentially the push of a button.
So is there an agreement in place then with these third parties that they'll accept your profile, or does it take the data from your system and populate it into their form in their system? How does that do it?
Maps to their form.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So what happens as part of that profile completion process is once you actually pick the disposal facility that you want to use, we've mapped all the major TSDF's profiles into the software.
Oh, perfect.
So what it does, it goes and reads and says, show me all the remaining questions that I haven't answered for this particular disposal facility's profile. You answer those, and then it's just submission of the profile. So it really streamlines the process.
Oh man, that's beautiful. And for people who are familiar with coordinating and getting approvals approved, set up and approved, that's a game changer, buddy.
Yeah. And then there's goals around approvals of those profiles on the other end for our TSDF clients, right? Using AI features to be able to read the profile, make sure it's accurate, make sure there's no inconsistencies with the document, right? You selected it's D1, but you also checked that it's non-haz. It can't be that. So
there's a checks and balance in there. Yeah, it's going to flag you and say, oh, you can't submit this yet. You got to correct this.
Yeah. The interesting feedback that we've gotten from clients with the original version of Profile Assist, is that it's actually helping them get approvals back quicker.
Right.
And the reason being is I guess there's less back and forth from the disposal facility and the generator or the disposal facility to the service provider, because the profiles are more complete. There's less contradictory information. There's fewer questions. And so the approval comes quicker.
That's great. I mean, and if you're the generator and you've been sitting on your hazardous waste for, 88 days and you go, oh crap, I got to move this because I'm LQG and you need that approval. You want that approval to come fast. And if your system can help expedite the approval, you need that, because that's just a violation waiting to happen if you don't get that done. Well, it's probably already going to be a violation waiting to happen, or they better apply for an extension real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hello, ET Nation. I want to thank you for listening to the podcast. If you enjoy the interviews we bring you, please consider supporting the program by visiting my website at SeanKGrady.com and buy me a cup of coffee. Proceeds will go towards helping me continue producing timely content and offsetting production costs. I'd also like to take a moment and recognize a few of our sponsors of the show who have been amazing partners and who are ET Nation legends. If you're looking for a driller and an environmental contracting firm to help you delineate the extent of contamination at your site, then look no further than Cascade Environmental. Cascade has over 37 offices across the country and offers a huge range of environmental and geotechnical drilling, site characterization, and remediation services. With their huge fleet of equipment and nationwide coverage, Cascade is a great choice to support your environmental and infrastructure needs. To learn more about their company, visit their website at cascade-env.com. That's cascade-env.com. I'd also like to give a shout out to Enthalpy Analytical. If you're looking for a single source for all your laboratory testing services, then give Enthalpy Analytical a call. With their network of accredited laboratories, experienced project managers, chemists, and industry professionals, they have everything you need to support your next project. They can analyze anything from drinking water, groundwater, soil, sediment, sludge, air, and much more. To learn more about Enthalpy Analytical, visit their website at enthalpy.com. That's enthalpy.com. Finally, I'd like to recognize Zappa Stewart, the leading provider of superabsorbent polymer technology for the power, dredging, oil and gas, and remediation sectors for over 20 years. When a reliable, fast, and cost-effective liquid waste solidification solution is needed, customers count on Zappa Stewart's brand of SAPs and technical expertise. When liquid waste needs to be out of sight and out of mind, give Zappa Stewart a call. To learn more about Zappa Stewart, go to my website at SeanKGrady.com. That's SeanKGrady.com. Now, let's dive back into this interview. So, there are hundreds and thousands of TSDFs out there, that can accept material from a lot of these generators. How are you managing kind of the source of truth, so to speak, for all the TSDF information so it's completely accurate once somebody picks the vendor?
Yeah, so we have everything boiled down to what we call a waste product code, right? And so a waste product code is a way to really standardize all the different ways that these different disposal facilities characterize, treat, classify, price, all that from their waste disposal. So for instance, the vast majority of disposal facilities have what they call vendor codes, right? So like a fuel blending liquid would be one code, and a fuel blending sludge or solid would be another code. And so we've actually pulled all of those into a universal standard called waste product codes. So when a user goes in and creates a waste stream that would be, say, fuel blendable liquid, it's going to pull into that comparison, that dynamic routing sheet, all those corresponding vendor codes that would apply. So you can compare every fuel blender that you have as an approved vendor at that point. And that kind of it's a universal standard that we're trying to build that takes all those different vendor codes. I mean, when you look at a matrix price sheet from some of the disposal facilities out there, their price sheets are 12 to 15 pages long.
Right.
Different combinations of waste types and treatment methods, container types and sizes. So we're able to really standardize that and make that decision a lot easier because we're putting all that information in front of the customer at the time of the routing of the waste.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's part of the disposal materials that each of those facilities can take. But I kind of was also wanted to know, the physical address, the EPA ID number, the name changes, and in the industry that happened so rapidly here in the past 5-6 years, as you know. That source of truth, like, how are you managing all that information on an ongoing basis? So when they do select that site, it's the right location, it's the right EPA ID number, it's the right transporter with the information. So, from the reporting side of the house, it's correct, right? That's kind of where I was going with the question.
Okay. Yeah. So we actually have a product called Streamlink that's an integration with RCRA Info. And so all that information, all that data around generators, transporters, disposal facilities, all the different shipments that are made, where they're going, who's transporting them. When you want to find a generator and set it up in the system, you can find them in Streamlink. It's pulling that data from RCRA Info. Hit create new generator. That way, that the generator data in the software matches exactly what the EPA is showing on their documentation. So you don't have a situation where the manifest has the wrong EPA ID number or the transporter's EPA ID number is incorrect. So we're integrated with RCRA Info. So all that data is updated every couple of weeks in the system. So that's easy to keep that piece in line. So you're not putting something on a document that's outdated or inaccurate information. It's showing exactly what the EPA has on them as well.
That's good. So there's really no data input. You're just selecting it because you're pulling it from the source of truth, which is the EPA's website. So
yeah, every piece of data that's there, we can pull into the application, right? There's other data that you obviously need to set up profiles and generators, but we move all that data from RCRA Info. So those really important pieces, anything that's on a manifest or a label, it's there.
So, okay. So say you're a large company. Let's just say we're a big, large oil and gas company, and we have multiple divisions.
Yep.
Like, you may work for a pipeline company. You may work for a refinery part of the company. You might work for, offshore. I mean, let's think about this. Like, so how can Wastelinq have a total, overall corporate entity and then subdivide into different divisions of that business and keep all the reporting, independently separate through that, or roll it all up into a nice total package? Is that some of the functionality that Wastelinq has?
Absolutely. So for those really large scale generators where they have multiple locations, right? And we have clients where they have large generators, they have multiple locations, they're on a single Wastelinq environment, right?
Mhm.
Each one of their generating locations is what's called it's a generator in enterprise. And
Yeah.
so they can have visibility into all those generators that they're using. And the way the software is designed in the architecture, the generator has profiles that are affiliated with them, and then shipments that are affiliated with those profiles. And
Mhm.
so you can get down to, from a single platform of Wastelinq, any number of generating locations that you have. And even further there, like if they have, a really large facility that has multiple production units, they
Yeah.
want to get
Yeah.
that granular.
Departments.
Yep. Yeah. So cost centers, different,
Right.
different units that they want to track individually waste.
Right.
There's what's called a portal version. And so each one of those individual locations or units can have a portal license that gives further delineation of that data down. So you can get as far down as individual generating points of generation, satellite accumulation, or you can aggregate all the way up into a total for the whole scope of everything that that generator has in the environment.
Well, that's fantastic. One of the challenges that I think some generators may approach you with is, well, we don't mind, working and sending waste through the system, but we only want to use our own approved vendors. Do you have a way to restrict the access of all the potential TSDFs to just the vendors that are on the approved vendor list for a specific client? Is that a burden or an odd idea, or should I say a request that's come from some clients?
Yeah, it's been it was from customer request, but it's been in the application for years. You basically select your list of approved vendors, and so when you go to create a profile, right, or you go to create, and everything's derived from the profile. It's not, if you have a no deep well policy, it's not going to let you submit a profile for deep well. If you have a no
What?
landfill
No
initiative,
deep well. Come on.
hey, no, deep well is great, but some people don't like it, right?
Yeah, I'm
So,
just kidding.
like a no landfill policy, if you have
Yeah,
certain restrictions for a certain disposal type or a certain third party transporter, a
yeah.
specific disposal site, it will not allow you to move forward with those transactions.
Okay. No, that's fantastic. I mean, that's great to know that there's some protection around the risk exposure, right? That's important. If we stay on that topic real quick too, does Wastelinq also provide audit package information from some of the TSDF vendors, or is that something maybe down the road you guys are thinking about, similar to some other auditing type services that help people deal with, like, I never have used that company before. It may be a good idea from a cost perspective, but from a risk perspective, I'm just not sure yet. So we might want to, see if there's an audit to before we decide. Do you do anything in that space?
Yeah, we do the audits on a lot of the major facilities that are out there, right?
Yeah.
So, and if customers want us to go do an audit of a medium or smaller size or regional disposal facility, we haven't really gotten into that yet, but that's
Okay.
something that we could add in terms of a facility there where we could upload documents from maybe like a service that does the auditing, and we can post that information there. But we haven't jumped into that service just yet in terms of auditing sites for the generators,
I
but it's
think
something that we could definitely take a look at.
I think there's a channel partner opportunity here that I might be able to help you with. So,
Okay,
let's talk about that later.
that'd be great.
Because we do a lot of that. Okay, so hey, e-manifest has been on top of mind for a lot of people, and there's been a lot of frustration in the industry about e-manifest. Talk a little bit about your journey with e-manifest, how you're currently approaching that aspect of your software.
So today, what we support is the data and image upload for our TSDF clients, right?
Okay.
So they receive the material into their facility, they reconcile that order, make sure that it's accurate, and then through a push of a button, they can push the final manifest copy and all the data into RICRA info automatically. That's part of that service. We're working towards fully electronic orders. It just hasn't made the priority on our roadmap simply because the industry is not using the fully electronic order piece yet,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
our development roadmap really is dictated by customer needs and what's going to drive this business forward and what our customers are asking for. And I think even today, less than 0.5% of all manifests are fully electronic.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's important to us, and I think it will make it to our roadmap very soon, because we're really maniacally focused on making profiling simple, connected, and transparent. Right now, that's 2024, 2025 type stuff.
Right.
Inventory visibility is going to be a next big piece for us, so that we can make sure that a waste container is born, and throughout its life, it's actually tracked from the generator location in transit to a 10-day to a disposal site. And there's going to be some of that fully electronic order piece development that's going to be part of that. So we're just that's kind of that next phase once we get through like solving this first major headache in profiles, and then moving towards the next major headache, which is inventory visibility. Because today you really only know what maybe you have in a 10-day or what a generator has on site, but disposal facilities really don't have that much visibility into what the inventory is out there, right? So we can work on giving that type of visibility so the industry is more connected.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Well, you touched on interesting. So are you doing any like Q codes or barcodes for inventory, tracking of existing containers that are stored on site for generators now?
We do, yeah. So we have on-site tracking for generators, for service providers through a 10-day, for disposal facilities through their processing, right?
Okay.
For the generators, there's triggers that let them know, hey, you're a large quantity generator. This container's been there 75 days. You got to move it, right? So
Perfect.
reminders. For the service providers, there's an inventory grid that shows them what inventory's been there, how long, and hey, this is coming up on 7 days. You need to get this moved.
Perfect.
We even have some features in there where if a profile, are they going to pick up waste associated with a profile that's going to expire within a certain time frame, and it puts you at risk for losing the approval while in transit, and then you're stuck with that container.
Oh,
Sends you a reminder and says, hey, you need to go get this renewed before you pick this up, so
that's
that you don't
beautiful.
end with it in transition, or end with it in your transition. And then the disposal facilities, they have full tracking the same way. They just have a longer period of time, whether it's a year or whatever their permit says.
Yeah, once they receive it, they can
Yeah,
hold
but
it.
it's all QR code today. Currently,
Okay.
where
Okay.
you can scan it, you can weigh the container, you can grade the container. So yeah.
Is it scannable like based on like an iPhone or something that easy on a tablet? I mean, what's the best way to do that, or is it more of a device you purchase to make it work?
Today, there are devices that we purchase. There's a lot of data on those scanners, in particular for a disposal facility client, where they need to
Mhm.
know a lot of information, who the generator is, manifest number. We'll get to iOS and Android supported devices, but today a lot of what we'll do is we have a couple that we recommend, but then we also will build it out to fit customers' existing scanners if they have those as well.
Oh, wow, wow. So how many developers do you have?
So we've got, I think, total onshore and offshore close to 20.
Okay.
So we've got most of the onshore resources are really on the QA, QC, writing the business requirement documents, doing a lot of the testing,
Right.
looking for the bigger picture, quality control type stuff.
Mhm.
We have just hired a UX engineer and an AI engineer to really focus on making sure that we're improving the user experience and maximizing the use of AI. So
Oh,
we're
man.
putting a lot of money into the continued development of the application. We feel like we're an industry leader in that regard, and we want to continue to put distance between us and any competitor that's out there.
That's fantastic. I mean, yeah, the AI, and machine learning aspect of, helping the customer or the generator know where they probably should take the material for the best price or the best treatment method or whatnot, and based on repeat occurrences or use of other from other generators too that would take provide that intel to a different generator that's got a similar waste stream, like, hey, here's your best option. I think that's great, and that is kind of where, yeah, that's where industry's going. That's where industry's going to be wanting to see a product like yours be able to handle
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and it's we want to give that transparency, but we also need to make sure that we're respecting data privacy for all of our clients, right? So
Oh yeah.
We're going through SOC 2 compliance, where we're going to be, have that probably this time next year, which is a big step for us.
Okay.
Right. So we take that data privacy very seriously. And
Huh.
so there's teams that basically just make sure that we're structuring these things appropriately to protect everybody's data, and protecting ourselves from some of those bad actors out there that might want to get a hold of somebody's data.
Yeah, there's a few out there. When it comes to reporting, let's talk about reporting and the challenges of developing ad hoc or custom reports that clients want. How are you addressing reporting needs for clients, and what types of reports do you currently provide?
So the system comes with about 30 reports that are just part of it, pretty commonly requested reports in the industry.
Okay.
We have the ability for the user to build out reports in the system as well if they want to.
Okay.
And then if they're looking, those are both included in the base licensing. There's also another module that's connected to a reporting tool where they can extract data out and build the reports, like a business intelligence tool, build any kind of reports that they want.
Okay.
It's like you mentioned it. Everybody wants a little bit different flavor, a
Yeah.
report, and we could spend all of our development resources building custom reports, but it's better to give the customer the ability to do it themselves, right? Because
Yeah, you can't read their mind, and you don't know their business practice or the nuances of what they need all the time, right? I mean, giving them 30 canned reports of what's the most common is great.
yep,
Gives them a head start. And I do like the fact you can export the data to a Power BI type interface that they can do some dashboarding, right? I mean, is that kind of what you're suggesting, that they're able to do that?
yeah. So they can export the data out of the system. You can push it out to a CSV, Excel file, anything you want, right? So you have complete access to your own data. Our clients own the data. We lease them the software,
Yeah,
right?
right, right.
And so they can use a tool called Wastelinq Access, which is built on a platform of a third-party product called Domo. It's a
Okay,
business intelligence reporting tool. So they can build their own reports there. They can actually export data for like a price increase to a customer if they want to, if it's a disposal facility or service provider. Make the changes to that price information that they want to, and then write back the data into Wastelinq so that they can manage price increases to their clients or cost increases from their vendors, both ways.
so if I stay a little bit on the generator side for the moment, and we'll get into these other client targets like brokers and landfill type stuff, people too, but waste processors. But we stay with generators for a second. What about like waste inspections? Is there a process in the system where you can go do your weekly inspections and it checks boxes, or it basically validates or confirms that that activity was done from a compliance perspective? Is that a functionality of the report of the application?
That's in the portal piece. So
Okay.
you can actually do inspections of your waste management units.
Yep.
You can document training for employees. You
Oh,
can
that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Document all that training. Upload the certificates. They can upload all the final manifest copies, so they can, it does waste characterization. So
Right.
when they create a profile, it's automatically creating a waste characterization, so which is needed for generators to do that on site. So it gives them that ability, and not only do they do it, it documents it. So we've had regulators sit down with customers inside the portal, and they just look through the document section and take a look at, here's my waste characterization, here's my inspections for these units, here's my final manifest copies, all electronically in one place.
That's beautiful. Yep, that's exactly the way that kind of solve those compliance audit needs. They're right there in the one central location. That's great. If we talk a little bit about the broker side of the house, I mean, that is kind of where your sweet spot started, right? I mean, you were really designing this application initially for the broker mindset, right? Like, hey, we're a hauler of a lot of waste. We're we're getting pricing from our disposal companies. We're making our profit off of the transportation and the markup on our margins with this. Talk a little bit about the pricing capabilities of the application, how that helps them, maybe how they can actually create in quotes, maybe, or even invoices out of the system.
Yeah, so the pricing and cost management side of it are pretty powerful tools, right? And that goes back to those waste product codes.
Hmm.
So that's a way to really pull in vendor cost information, and then provide pricing to customers as well. And so that's valuable to generators, service providers, and disposal facilities all across the value chain. In
Yeah.
fact, I think from a broker standpoint, being able to manage all the different costs from all the different disposal facilities that you use,
Right.
this really simplifies that. But it does the same thing for a generator, right? Because
Yeah.
those generators have access to that same information. So they have their list of approved vendors that they're using for disposal. They'll bring those materials in. They'll have all that pricing uploaded in the system. It's automatically there for all their profiles, all their orders. They can upload documents to track their costs. So the cost and price management feature is really valuable for
Yeah.
all three of our partners on the terms of the market.
I can't tell you how many times that we would go out to bid and we get a price one time for, IDW for some petroleum impacted soil or something or water. And then, come back 3 months later and get a, same vendor and get a different price. You're like, what the heck? Why can we not get? And so by
Yeah.
tracking this or knowing exactly where you should be is, like you said, that's powerful knowledge information. So I can, either leverage the work I'm doing with those vendors or know what my costs are to budget the project properly. I think that's really great. And then too, at the end of the year, you want to know, what did I spend on waste, or what did I spend on my recycling programs? Or, if you
Yep.
want to narrow it down to has versus non-has, you can, right? So that's great.
Yeah, and for the really large generators, right? We had an example where a customer comes to us and says, "Hey, my global purchasing director just asked me to put together an RFP for 20 facilities across the country, um, and I needed it by Friday." And this was on a Tuesday, but they're like, "Do you know how long it's going to take me to compile all that information? Because each facility is using a separate system or spreadsheet, whatever it would be,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And they don't have all that data in a single place. And
Right.
so with the Wastelinq software, that really large generator now is able to be using that single platform to capture all that cost information. So building an RFP for future opportunities becomes really easy, right? You
Yeah.
can know how much each site shipped, where they shipped it, what was on each shipment, right? Which is really valuable for
Waste.
the
Yep.
service provider or the disposal facility to know how to best price that RFP.
Hmm.
And so, what we're anticipating is sort of significant savings for those really large generators that with that visibility and transparency into their costs. For
Well, if we talk about, if you're either a broker or a generator and you're using this application, and maybe you already have your own preferred vendor, but what if there's a vendor in the system that you have a lot of data on that the system's recommending to send the waste there, and what the price is? Are you guys acting as I don't know, maybe an agent of some of these other vendors that, for pricing, and if they use your system and select that location, they can take advantage of that better pricing?
Yeah, so what we try to do is stay out of the middle of the transaction, right? We want to give information and give customers options, and then they make
Right.
the choice,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
if there are facilities that are in there, we may not have their cost information, right? But they're aware of those facilities that are out there. They can reach out to them directly, or maybe we even have through what we call our marketplace. We have disposal vendors that we've already negotiated rates for. They have access to our pricing in the system as well. But they're choosing where it goes. They're choosing, you
Yeah.
know, when they ship, all that kind of stuff. We're just helping process transactions and give them more information.
But you do have this marketplace that could be an advantageous type, location to identify outlets that are more cost effective than maybe the ones that they're currently using, right?
Yeah, and in a dynamic routing feature that we're deploying, they'll see those options as what to choose from, right? They'll see their own where they're direct to the disposal site. They'll see ours where they would come through us as the bill to,
Yep.
but they're still making all the choices. All we do is facilitate the transactions and charge a processing fee.
So, okay. So if they pick one of your vendors in the marketplace, you'll just go ahead and execute the transaction and
Yep.
send the generator the invoice instead of, them getting an invoice from some other third party broker or whoever, right?
Yeah, we manage all the costs in the system, so they're all posted. When those invoices come through, we're vetting those invoices for any discrepancies. We post the invoices and supporting documentation to the order. It's all part of that processing fee that we do that service for the client. through the
You
network.
just touched on a little the challenge for a lot of people is that discrepancy of the invoice review process. I don't know how many invoices I would receive from vendors, and they're all kind of messed up, right? And you do need to, and if that invoice goes into the PA, to the accounts receivable, system, some accounting, they're just processing. They're not even really validating the accuracy of these invoices. Sometimes, or sometimes they're going back to the EHS type manager or the waste manager, and they review it. Of course they do, I'm sure, but there's a lot of times they're messed up, and so it's good that you're doing validation. That's awesome.
Yeah, there invoicing in this industry is difficult, right? So and so again, back to those waste product codes, it's really been a way to standardize that process and for us to be able to push those invoices through. But
Right.
when we are managing those invoices for the client, what we've seen over the past 3 years is about, on average, just under a 3% overcharge on average. So when you're talking about a generator that's spending $10 million a year on disposal, that's $300,000, right?
That's significant.
That's meaningful savings just off making sure that you're getting invoiced the correct amount.
100%. Yep. 100. Well, and then two, yeah, I mean, there's all the documentation that comes along with that invoice typically, and it's got to get, confirmed and validated and uploaded to the system, and you got to use that to get, the reporting done. So there's a bit of some process review that sometimes is underestimated in this waste process, because it's funny. They're like, "Yeah, I got 5 drums. Hurry up, get rid of this." And it's like, well, it doesn't really work that way, guys. I mean,
or the invoice and the backup final manifest copy goes to accounting, and accounting looks at the manifest and says, "I don't need this," and they throw it away. And then the invoice gets entered into the accounting system, and they'll pay the bill, but the EH&S people are like, "Where's my manifest?"
right.
So,
And they're like, "Man, you're just making more work for me. Now I got to go back to that company and get a copy and blah." Yeah,
yeah.
been there, done that for sure. So, we've talked about a lot of the aspects of the product. What am I missing? Okay, let's walk us through a little bit of the software, structure for a license and what that looks like a bit. I mean, maybe you don't have to give super specifics on pricing, but let's give a bit of an idea about what it looks like in an engagement.
Yeah, so we've got different levels of the application that customers can buy based on what their needs are, right? So if you just need a product to print manifests and labels, there's TerraLink. If you want to start with Wastelinq as an operating system to help run the waste business or manage your waste across the board for a really large generator, service provider, or TSD, there's those. There's those base licenses are charged by the user on an annual basis.
Okay.
And then there's additional modules that you can buy up into, like StreamLink, like Wastelinq Access, like some of those other features that, like the EnviroWare processing for the TSDFs,
Mm-hmm.
that you can add to that if you want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then really the next step is, once they're up and running in the system and our software, we'll integrate with their accounting system. We'll integrate with like an EMIS system, right, to capture
Okay.
all that data for a super generator.
Sure.
So we really try to get you down to be as transparent and connected as possible and simplify the whole process. And so the license structures, that depends on how many users you have. But what we typically see on the software is the value proposition is very strong, just from visibility into savings for disposal, administrative costs, avoided overpayments on invoices.
Mm-hmm.
So it translates into customer retention of about 97% for us.
Yeah. No.
So once
I
they're
mean,
up and going, they stick with us.
well, yeah. It's a big management of change to decide to select a software that you're going to invest your hard-earned time and effort and finances into a product that you're looking to, use as your central management system. And so, yeah, once they do that, it is hard to get out of
Yeah.
of a product. I mean, unless it's just horrible. But I've seen your product; it's not horrible. It's really good. I mean,
Right.
and it is encouraging to hear that you're talking about, looking at some UX UI type improvements. That's always, well, I mean, everybody's experiencing different softwares, just in their everyday life, whether you're on your phone or you're banking or, shopping at Kroger or wherever. Right. So, however, you can make the product feel more intuitive and more
Yep.
customer friendly, I mean, that's a positive, right?
Yeah, I mean, we know that there's stuff that we absolutely have to work on. There's always room to improve. And so we invest a lot of effort in customer support, right?
Mhm,
So when there are issues, the customer gets the support they need to get through it.
mhm.
But it's a constant improvement in terms of what we're trying to do. We've come a long way, but we feel like we still have a long way to go. But we invest a lot of money and people and time and making sure that we have a product that people don't stay with because they feel like they have to, because they feel like they get value out of it.
Right, right. Now, let's talk a little bit about partners. Maybe do you have any channel partners that help you do implementation?
We are no, implementations. No. Today we manage that all internally with our professional services team.
Okay,
So
so
we'll help train, implement, do integrations, things like that. But we are exploring now the possibility, now that the product is much more mature and we really understand our target market better, where we're going to start working with channel partners, and that's really in particular on the generator side, right?
gotcha.
So
Yeah.
different software applications that don't do what we do. They're complementary to us, like an EMIS system where you want to
Yep.
track all that data. They're potential channel partners, consultants that are a lot of times on site with a lot of these generators, doing a lot of the reporting and a lot of the compliance consulting. They're potential channel partners. So we are
Absolutely.
just starting that process.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking. That's a good one.
Yes.
Um, well, what about your customer service? You talked a little bit about that. What type of customer support do you really have for someone who's stuck, or just need a little more training, some mental reps to go through the use of the application so they understand the intuitive process, things. What are you doing in that space, and how do you support customers?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways we try to approach that because all of our users learn differently, right?
Mhm.
So we have user guides on the website, what we call Wastelinq Academy, where they can go in and reference those documents there. We have a AI feature within the software named Link. We like Link in our company, but you basically type a question into the software into Link, and it reads the user guides and tells you how to do something, right? There's training that's offered for additional training if you want those resources there for customers to go in and get it.
Mhm.
In terms of support, if you're running into problems, there's ways to submit tickets for support right from the software. You can show it exactly where you're doing. We track all bugs, enhancements, all those things, and provide as much feedback as we can to customers on timing and fixes.
Mhm.
And we learned a lot with that. We just deployed a new version, an updated version of Wastelinq on July 1st. And new software versions are never easy, right? So we had some things that we had missed and things that we had needed to do better. But in less than 90 days, we've worked through most of those issues. And I know it was frustrating for some customers here and there, but the support that we gave and the fixes that we were able to deploy, we got through it pretty good, and we learned a lot, and we'll be better for it next time as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, so how many customers do you have using the application now, Sean?
So across the country, for all the different products, all the different generators, service provider, and TSDs, about 250 different customers,
Okay.
close to 2,000 users throughout the industry.
That's incredible. That's great. I mean, that's I think you guys are onto something. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this application and what you guys are doing and how it's supporting the industry because it's a big need. I mean, one thing we didn't touch on is sustainability and how the system can help drive more sustainable business decisions. Like,
Yep.
hey, this is a greener option. This is a better technology. This is, and then on the reporting side, helping generators take that information and report up to their corporate sustainability officers the how much I recycled, how much I zero landfilled, how much did got fuel blended, all that kind of good stuff, right? I mean, talk a little bit about what you're doing in that space, if you could.
Yeah, so the data that's in the system and the reporting, that's really the starting point for
Mhm.
sustainability, right? You got to know what you're doing today to get better. And so all that's accessible for the client. Other things that we're doing is when we do the dynamic routing piece, there'll be ways to optimize that in future iterations for ESG goals, right? So you want to go to a closer facility because it's better, it's less miles on the road with the waste stream. You can take that approach. And then we're building out other features where we'll build intelligence into the tool that recommend different recycling options or reuse options for customers as well. Because a lot of times they're just looking for, sometimes they're cost effective, trying to get things moved out quickly because they got their 90 days or their, whatever their requirement are. So we're trying to build out a lot more features in that regard. So it gives the information to clients so that they can make the choice then for what they want to do.
Are any of the reports kind of following the EPA WARM model or, greenhouse gas emissions, savings, diversion, cost have you guys looked into that at all?
Not currently, no. So those are all things that we can add as we go into the future, and then having, partnering with people who understand some of the value on that side of it is really where we think we can extract a lot of value for our clients as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Everything today is really focused on the waste reporting. Where can you recycle? Where can you reuse? What are universal waste standards? And trying to recommend better options. Some of those other things like, different types of reporting or regulatory requirements or initiatives, we need some help there. And that's where we're looking to grow with some partners.
Well, yeah. And there's a lot of state specific reports that, can hang people up. And yeah, so I know there's a few of those out there that,
Yeah.
It's always a burden, but, well, Sean, I really appreciate you coming on to the show. I think we've covered a lot of really good ground about Wastelinq. I think the best way to get a hold of you is to give you a shout via email. What's the best way for listeners to get a hold of you so they can get a peek behind the curtain here on this product?
Yeah. So message me via LinkedIn, Sean Easton, Wastelinq. Email is always great, seaston@wastelinq.com. And then you can reach out through us through the website as well. You can schedule demos directly from there. Schedule one of our sales engineers to walk you through the application, learn more about what you need and what we can do to meet that need. So
that's great. That's really good. Well, so you just heard from Sean Easton, ET Nation. This is one of the best waste tracking softwares out in the industry. I highly recommend you guys take a look at it. Really glad you came on the show, Sean, and thanks for all you guys are doing in the industry.
You bet. Thank you, Sean, and appreciate it.
Thanks for listening and watching the show. If you enjoyed the show, then please share it with your friends and coworkers on social media and tell somebody in person. Thanks for being with us, ET Nation.